What's up, DAW Nation? Here's a good question for you. How do you arrange your drop? What are the do's, the don'ts, the best practices, the things that actually work? How do you know what those are? Well, guess what? In this week's episode of In the DAW with Slippy, we're going to be talking about that. With that being said, let's go ahead and cue the super dope, dark, cinematic intro video.
Make the ground shake like a fucking earthquake.
What's up, DAW Nation? My name's Wyatt Troy. I'm a music producer much like yourself, and I want to welcome you to In the DAW. Now, if you're new to In the DAW, it is a series where we invite huge music producers to come and dissect their songs in real time so that you can learn straight from the producers that have already made it in the music industry. So that you don't have to go scouring through YouTube looking for a song or a sound recreation video from someone who didn't even create it in the first place. No. Right here on this channel, you get to learn straight from the source. So if you want to keep learning from huge music producers so that you can, number one, keep getting better and better at music production, number two, make a bigger impact with your music, and number three, finally start making a living off something that you're actually passionate about, then go ahead, hit the little subscribe button that's right below this video, and make sure to click that little notification icon. That way, anytime that we put out any new content, you'll get notified immediately, and every time you watch one of these videos, you're going to get better and better and better. So, how's this episode of In the DAW going to benefit you as a music producer? That is a handsome question, and this week's episode of In the DAW is with Slippy, breaking down his song Earthquake that he collaborated on with Dirty Audio. Now, Dirty Audio couldn't make it to this session. No resentment whatsoever, but let me tell you what you can plan to walk away with learning from this episode, okay? There's a lot of things in this episode that you're gonna learn from, which is amazing, but you can absolutely plan to walk away learning these things. Number one, how to make melodies with your vocal chops. How do you do that? What are the best practices? What is the easiest way to set yourself up to win to do that? We're gonna talk about it. Number two, we're gonna be talking about how to make a very successful collaborative project, all right? Have you ever collaborated with someone and it just didn't work out? It was painful. You felt like the person was overbearing on you or you were overbearing on them. It just didn't work out. What are the best practices? What are the do's and the don'ts? We're gonna be talking about that today, okay? Number three, we're gonna be talking about what the heck is a bass jam? Is it the same thing as a sound design jam? How's it gonna benefit you? How's it gonna make you stick out? I promise we're gonna be going over that as well. And then number four, like I mentioned in the intro, we're gonna be talking about how to arrange your drop. What are the best practices, the do's, the don'ts, the things of that nature? Don't worry, we're gonna be going over all of these things in today's episode. But DAW Nation, not only do we have this week's episode of In the DAW, but we actually have even more valuable things for you at the end of this episode, okay? So make sure to watch all the way through this episode until I come back on the screen, and we're gonna go ahead and cover those things over there. But, DAW Nation, I hope you are absolutely freaking pumped for this week's episode. And with that being said, let's go ahead and ask our wonderful video editor, Zach Knowlton, if he can introduce us to Slippy and take us in the DAW. First concept, start with the intro, man. What's in the intro? Where are the elements in there? What's going on? Where's the energy?
All right, so intro right here kind of breaks down into a couple of different sections. I have pretty much at the start, just going off with these chords. There's some ambience going on here at the bottom. So I believe this is from a Culprit pack, which is a really nice sample pack. It's still free, I think. It's lying around the internet somewhere. But really nice. I don't think I can unfreeze this. I mean, yeah, it's literally not processed at all, except I put it down 6 semitones to be in key. Then you have this Amon Tobin, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, Atmosphere, which again, exactly how it was. I don't even, just pitch down to be in key right here. So those just kind of set the mood of the tune as an intro. And then while that's all happening, you have this little key patch going on here. And it's just an arp back and forth, back and forth. This steering patch, a little bit of grain delay, nothing crazy.
Can you solo that thing you just showed?
Yes. Yeah, right here, the keys.
That's zero.
Yeah, it's literally a preset. Like it is, presets, whatever. Clicked on it, works great. I mean,
honestly, when it comes to leads, like when it comes to like really pretty leads, I hate sound designing that crap. I love sound designing basses and stuff.
Exactly. Yeah, I think like stuff. This fit really well for the intro, and I was like, well, I'm not going to go and dig for another key sample, and I'm not going to spend like 3 hours recreating this key sample. Totally. So it sounds really great as is. So
question with this. So where was this? Was this a free thing? I see you got it from Cymatics. Is this a free thing? Or? Okay.
I'm not sure. I believe it might have been free. It might have been from one of their packs. I'm not entirely sure like which library it was from, but yeah.
Because I remember they had one a while ago. It was called, oh my gosh, what's it called? I can't remember. Link on the screen, picture on the screen to show you what it is. It's so like it has such beautiful leads in there, and it's like so gorgeous. That when it comes to leads, I hate sound designing. Just use preset, in my opinion.
Yeah, so I believe there's that, and then I also duplicated that. It's another patch entirely. It's a complete control here. Rounds is a good one. I was part of I think it was Complete Ultimate 10, and it's another really nice one. A lot of good like key presets. So super quiet, but fills out that high end a bit. And that just takes you into the intro. So it's not totally ambient, it still has the rhythm coming in. So you kind of, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then underneath all that, there's this arpeggio, which again, I'm just going to have to unfreeze everything, I think. This arpeggio, which another rounds. Big fan of rounds.
Do you, like, after you've kind of written your thing, you got your melody all like set in stone, you know exactly what it is. Do you flatten them or do you not flatten them?
I don't ever flatten them, really.
Okay. Why is that?
I would flatten it if I wanted to go in and audio process it, but I find that I like to make little small changes here and there. So unless I'm like totally certain that that's how it's going to stay, I'm probably not going to flatten anything. When it comes to recording audio, we'll definitely get into that with like the drop, because a lot of that is just audio I recorded and then process. So, but as far as intros go, I like writing it out, like kind of as you would if you had like a score or something. You know, I want to be able to go in and make those small changes whenever I need to.
You usually take elements from other parts of the song and start teasing them in the intro, or do you start with the intro very, very first? Okay, so you do the first.
So sometimes I'll start like at the totally beginning, just have like a pad or something, but usually what ends up happening is I'll end up filling that out a little too much, and then I'll have to go back and make another 8 bars before that kind of lead into, okay, here's the main section.
Gotcha. So when you start a song, where do you usually start from?
I do usually end up starting like at the intro or verse area, just because I like, okay, what's going to be like the feeling of this song? What's going to be, you know, the theme of it? How this is all going to come together? And so normally I'll start with like a bass patch or something. Like, I think realistically, if we actually get into the verse here, I probably started with the pads and the chords in this section. Oh, that's a lot louder. So it was most likely, if I'm being like totally realistic here, it probably started with probably this bit. So just getting out this bottom chord progression here and then sort of filling it out above. So I would start with maybe the low bass I have here and filling out these chords. And just literally like I would take this and copy it down to here, say, and then fill out these upper harmonics of what do I want these chords to be and how do I want to sound. And then you end up doing it here as well in the keys. It's kind of like a 4-bar phrase here, and then we have a little bit of variance in the second half.
So you usually start off with the verse, and then you usually start off with the chord progression in the verse. And after you get the chord progression down, then that's when you start moving over to the melodies and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I like to get like, if you're looking at it from like a frequency spectrum level, I'm starting more at like the low end, and then we're building out from the top how I want this to sound. Because, you know, when you start with the intro, you don't want it to come blasting at you full spectrum. You want to have like, okay, we're getting into it. So I like starting with the low end, and then kind of we eventually want to build up, because eventually when you get to the drop, it's going to be that full spectrum of sound. So it's nice to start it out nice and low, or maybe even like really high. You can start like a high string patch or something. You definitely want to get those lower parts of the spectrum filled out, I think.
It. So the question with your kind of like your lower growlier bass, your lower thicker sub, not sub, but your lower, you know what I'm talking about? The lower bass. What is that? I love it.
Yeah. So if we unfreeze that, it's actually an Akali thing here. It's like, it's supposed to be a lead, I believe, but I resampled it because I thought it sounded really cool here as this, like, I mean, I've been using this a lot actually. If you listen to like any of my songs in the last couple of years, it's probably in here, but it's this, which like already has that tone of like a little bit of a bass. So I put it into this sampler here. And I mean, if we play it back without any of this stuff, basically I just put it in here and it's playing nice and low. It's actually pretty nice as is, but you know, I wanted to obviously come and fill out a little bit more. So add a saturator with a hard curve here. And then a bit of an overdrive here just to fill out the high end. It's honestly way too much. Like the drive is 100 and the dry wet is 100. Like it's definitely more than is necessary, but I think it sounds good. A teeny bit of reverb just for the sake of it. I don't know if that's also all that necessary. And then Camel Crusher here on fuzz filter. And then at the end, I just put a little cut of the high. And then what I like to do is as the verse progresses, just sort of bring that up. So the bass, it's, you know, that, I mean, pretty much this is what I was just talking about before, starting at the low end and then building up as it goes. So.
I love it. I think that's so good. You know, having elements like that are kind of continually changing, not by a law, but continually changing. It's just like it brings a human element into it, right? Instead of just being so stagnant. I love it.
Another really fun thing about this patch too, and if we go later on, it has a little bit of glide going on. So if you shoot it between the octaves, you get this really cool effect, which is why I called it Annihilation on here. It reminds me of the first scene of that movie. There's this really crazy scene in the third act with the crazy sound design, all this stuff going on. It reminded me of that quite a bit. Just the way that you get it repeating with the way that this audio sample is, I don't know. It's just really nice. You get this kind of chaotic effect going on with it.
I love that. I think that's fantastic. Any other elements in the verse that you want to talk about?
With as far as that goes, I mean, you got this a couple more arpeggios going on just to keep the movement. This is actually teasing the next section, so I'll get back to that in a minute. The main melody we have going on here is actually just a vocal chop that I did. That'll open up. And this is a Shipwreck vocal sample, actually. It's an F major, I believe. So I took that and just sort of chopped it up to get it fitting here. So we have like this a little bit at the beginning. And then I found this a little bit that sounds a bit more percussive to use. Basically just filled out this melody because originally I had a melody written with something else in here, but it ended up sounding a little bit too much like one of my older songs. And I think it was Sacha at Monster Cat was like, you should like probably change that. It sounds really similar. And I was like, that's a good idea. So we went and did these vocal chops going on. And really it's like, got some, I believe this is a tuner. Yeah, just a little bit of tuning for some of the weird pitches that happen. I don't even know if it's doing very much. And then you got grain delay, just giving it a little bit of high end, and then more delays, quarter note delay, and 3/16 is what it is. Yeah, some reverb, a little bit of utility to bring the width up. And then here, so this is the main one we got going here, and then the bottom one is the same thing. It's just I made it as a harmony instead, so it's emphasizing some higher notes that I wanted. So you hear the higher bit. And it's on this like little tiny delay on the end here, so it sounds a little bit off.
Yeah, that's so cool. So there's a couple of things I want to talk about in here that I think you did do something that's really, really cool. And one is the harmonies. I've actually never seen vocal chop harmonies. That is freaking awesome. So you literally just copied it down and just changed the tuning of them just to create different harmonies. Okay, so that's really cool. But then the other thing, so on the original vocal chops, you have two different delays, one right after another, but each of the delays are playing different rhythms, right? So I mean, one could, at least the way that I thought, is that like you'd basically just have one delay because you have 4/4 on one side and 3/3 on the other. So I thought you could just put 4, just have one delay and then like have 4 on the right and 3 on the left. But I think the effect that you're getting by doing this is you're delaying the delay, right? That's the unique effect.
Yeah, because like I don't like it when it's just like straight on the 4. It's a little too robotic. Same with like the 3. I'm like, I don't know. I kind of like having it in between where it's like when you have it on ping pong, it's hitting between both ends. So it kind of sounds like it's everywhere. It's just filling out the spectrum at that point.
That is super cool, dude. I'm really impressed. Okay, this is good. I like this. Okay, let's keep going.
Yeah. Okay. So that's most of what's happening in this section. I mean, I'm just clicking through to make sure I'm not missing anything here, but this is a little bit of a teaser for the build-up. It's just playing the same chord notes and everything. And that's just a serum. just nice and washed out with this rack, and it's just kind of teasing this like more sinister element that's going to be coming in later with the introduction. So that's what's going on there. Then I have a bit of a cashmere brass doubling the bottom part as well.
So I have a question for you really quick.
Yes.
Yeah, so the concept of teasing in certain sections, right? This concept is like, okay, you're in the intro, but you're kind of teasing in the verse. And you're in the verse, you're kind of teasing in the build. You're in the build, you're kind of teasing in the drop. Is that pretty common for your workflow?
I think so, yeah. Because I mean, you write a section and it's like these two sections are really cool, but like they aren't really melding together, right? Sometimes it's literally just bring this one element over, put it back, or take this one element and put it back into the front. And basically you just end up kind of like building blocks. You're just putting them in different spots. And once you have like various elements going from different sections, it kind of brings it all together. It's like, okay, this is the sound palette of this tune, basically.
I love that. I think that's great because it's helping the listener foreshadow, right? Because the big problem that a lot of people run into, a lot of producers run into, is that, you know, they introduce a new section. It's just like this foreign element that's in there. And it's like, well, wait, this foreign element doesn't really fit. But if you tie it in, right? You
just kind of tease it a little bit beforehand. That's like, oh, I did already hear that. Like, and, you know, it's probably not really all that perceptible as you're listening, but, you know, a little later you listen back and it's like, oh, there it is. And it's actually a little bit of the drop is teased here as well. So
perfect. Okay.
So super spaced out, super in the background. But if you listen in the full version, you can still end up hearing it, you know? Especially in the second. It's really nice. So as that's building at the end, you also have like, okay, at the end of this drop phrase, we're going to get this little bit of...
Oh, teasing in the bass, yeah?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't really think much has happened in the percussions here. He just got a little bit of drop clap going on here, just rhythmic stuff, keep it moving. Not much going on there. I think there's probably some more ambient effects. Yeah, we got some impacts going here. This flute is played a couple times. I just personally really like building soundscapes around the tunes. So having these little bits in the background that like, yeah, necessarily they aren't like adding all that much musically, but it kind of fills out the space that this song is living in.
A lot of these things, like a lot of these atmospheres, these impacts, these flutes, these things that you got going on, where if someone's just coming into music production, they want to know where to get these, where would they get these?
Splice, man. It's always Splice. Literally just go on there and just click through. You'll find some cool stuff. I mean, like you can find literally anything on Splice, and with enough processing, it's going to sound really cool. I think especially with ambient sounds, it's super easy. I mean, you can literally just chuck a bunch of reverb. Now that Ableton has this as well, this delay plugin, I mean, you could throw literally anything into this and it's going to sound really spaced out and cool. You just got to find out where it sits in the mix that makes sense.
Yes, I love it. I think that's fantastic. Now, a question with you, because I'm seeing a lot of reverb on a lot of different things, a lot of delays, which by the way sounds amazing. And that's why I'm concerned. It's like, how is all these things that are in spaces sounding amazing? I feel like they should start getting muddy and start fighting with each other.
Yeah, I don't really know.
You just don't.
I used to be really bad about reverb and like put it on everything at like high percents, and it definitely did start to sound muddy. But I think the trick with a lot of this is it's pretty low. Like I don't have anything mixed up super high. And what I will end up doing is like, okay, if something's carrying over like crazy, just literally turn the audio channel off when you don't want to hear it anymore.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. So when we did the Pixel Terror episode, that's exactly because they have the same mentality of you, like find really cool samples on Splice, reverb the crap out of them. But then it's like, wait, well, how do they fight? And so they have a custom rack, and I'd highly encourage you, anyone, to go to watch that episode. But basically, that's what it is. And so basically, what that rack is that when the reverb is done where it needs to be done, when another element comes in, that rack, it's literally just you just automate it. It's just on off, just completely just stops it. So nothing. So I like that a lot. Perfect. All right, let's keep going. I like this. Descending horns. There's an entire section called descending horns.
I think this is actually might have been where this tune started, now that I'm thinking about it again, because I just had this like, okay, I mean, you'll understand when you hear it. So here.
Make the ground shake like a fucking earthquake.
Horns are going down, yeah, for sure. You can hear that. So we have a couple layers of horns, actually, because I'm super picky and I never want just one sample. I always end up layering samples. So I got this cashmere one going on here. saturating it pretty much. I mean, like it's a bunch of things happening here, but at the end of the day, what it's basically doing is just saturating it, bringing that high end out a little bit of reverb.
The more and more I'm looking at all your elements, man, you love distorting, saturating, all that kind of stuff. Like,
Yeah.
love that. Yeah.
Well, especially when you're working with a lot of low end elements, I think it just helps to bring everything out of it. Is instead of just having it be like super bassy. This is another bass sound, brass sounds, Umru one. It's not spliced. He sells his own packs, but yeah. Really nice high end on this one. But it's playing the same thing. It's just those two together complement each other, fills out the spectrum. Then I have the string part here. It's another Cashmere. Following the same pattern there. And then I actually wrote this next string part right here. So it has the lower bits going here, but then I added on this raising section as well.
Oh, a little counterpoint. Okay. Yeah, a little counterpoint. I like it. That's cool. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It just so happened that it worked out really well that I could stepwise keep everything moving up without it sounding weird. Because that's what I was concerned about. I was like, normally you can't do that. It's going to sound a little weird. And even this chord progression, it's just chromatically going down. It's not following necessarily a chord progression as much, I'm sure. I mean, it is just not in your typical sense of 1-5-4. It's like literally just moving down.
Whoa, it's not even okay, so it's just chromatic. It's not even in the key that you're writing out.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you have D, and that's the main note, but then it's coming down to the sixth here at the B flat.
Yeah, that's providing a lot of attention.
Yeah.
I like the idea that that you have certain elements that are descending, and then to counterpoint them, you have an element that's also rising, but it's also dissonant. Everything's it's just really helps create this atmosphere of contrast where something's coming, something big's coming. I love it.
Good stuff. Bringing this really big element. And then you also have this smaller layer here that goes into this actual build before it. So open it up. And that's super, super simple patch. It's literally just 16 unison of this saw, a little bit of pluck. And then I have this little detune knob that once you get into the actual build here, super simple, but really effective in what it's doing, basically. So that's pretty much what's going on in this section. There's not a whole lot else. I mean, you have, your crashes and everything. And I believe there might be, not even really a riser. You got a little bit towards the end here, but yeah, it's pretty much just these strings and there's a little bit of sub bass underneath it, just kind of locking it all down. And there you go on that. A little bit of percussion here as well, I guess. Just bringing it into the next build. I got Dirty Audio's vocal sample down here that he did.
Make the ground shake like a fucking earthquake. Make the ground shake like a fucking earthquake.
Okay. All right. So there's a couple elements in the build I want to talk about right there. So you had this rising gritty bass. Was that the gritty bass from before, or is this a new one?
Yes, it is the same one. It's the one that I was talking about in the intro. So we got this saw lead that I was using in the intro here. And all it is you got it again here. With you got another layer on top here.
Man, that's amazing. And they're all just rising in pitch simultaneously, all the same. I love it.
So it's just a serum patch here. It's something from another song that I just pulled this in from. Just save your old sounds, even if they're from songs that never came out. And just go through the sound design of this, but it's pretty much just a little bit of FM from B, bit of this phase. Flange, that's what it is. A bit of flange going on here. Then again, a lot of distortion, OTT and things like that. It's a really aggressive sound, so you want to bring that all out here. And then this is a massive lead I did. It's just I mean, it's literally just a saw wave. I think we got the B section on, so it's a square saw with a little bit of pitch detune going on.
Man,
chorus,
you get
distortion.
a lot of mileage out of a Camel Crusher. That is cool.
Oh
That is
yeah.
nice.
I mean, I've been using that forever. So it's just like, it always sounds good to me. And I know, okay, I'm either going to use probably British Clean or Annihilate, depending on what I'm looking for. And those are my go-tos. And it's really nice for these low distorted basses. And then we just got the sub underneath, just holding it down again. And then I also grabbed this little tension thing so I can automate the pitch. Yeah, just got that automating, a little plucky lead here as well, which this was originally the lead for the song back here. And one thing that you can hear in a lot of this buildup is frequency shifter here. So, if you don't want to go in and do the pitch automation for everything, or you want to make it sound really chaotic, literally just click this wide button, drag it up throughout your build, and you get this nice spread out effect, which is terrible for phasing, but it sounds cool.
So you do that. That's a nice little build-up trick that you have, is using a frequency shifter. You put it on an element, hit the wide, and then you automate the spread over.
Yeah, so I mean, like, you have the pitches rising here on this, but it's only going to go up to an octave, and at the end of the day, that sounds great, but it is, at the end, you're still hitting that octave, and it might sound like it's resolving, even though it's not. So throw this frequency shifter on it, and then you get this nice spread out effect at the end, with a little bit of this washout macro as well, which is helping that. Yeah, it just sort of helps. So like at the very end, okay, we're washing it out, we're spreading it out, and then here's this new impact. We're going to go into the next section now. As far as drums, I mean, again, it's not super crazy right now. I think it's actually like one of the simplest songs drum-wise that I have. Normally there's a lot more going on.
So with drums and percussion, are you pretty big into just using loops and whatnot?
Yeah. I mean, for sure. It's like, I'm not really someone that makes my own drums, but I've played percussion for like a decade. So like, I know what I want. So if I find a loop that I'm like, that's what I want, and it sounds good, we're putting it in the song. I mean, it's a drum. If someone's calling you out for like, I heard that snare sample before, it's like, who cares? It doesn't make any difference.
It's a poor argument, because you got to remember, we're making music because we enjoy it. So if there's a part of the process that we don't really enjoy, there's nothing morally wrong with not doing that certain process. I hate sound designing risers. I can't stand it. It's actually painful.
I would say, I think all the risers in this song I didn't do anything with. Yeah, so you got a cymatics one, you got stock reverse one. I mean, I've definitely done it before. I have a few I've made. If I'm like, I need this effect and I can't find a sample that does it, I'll make it. But it's literally a riser. I mean, it's to create this effect. Unless you like really want to be this like super homegrown, I make everything from scratch, I don't really think it's super necessary.
Yeah, because at that point it's more so I will admit there's probably some people out there that like really, really enjoy making every single thing, but most of the time I think it's more of an ego thing, and they're like, no, I need to do it. Like I need to make it. No, that's not true. Don't do that.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of pressure as well, because you're like, oh, I gotta make this song and I want it to be like the best it can be, and for that to happen, and I want for my fellow peers to know that this is a great song, they need to see that I made it all. And it's like, that's not the case. I know when I first started like collaborating with people, I was looking at the projects, I'm like, oh, they're using samples here and samples here, and I would have never guessed that. I would have never heard it before. So I don't think it makes any big difference at all. So yeah, you got this Sultan kick is happening. I just pitched it down to fit the tune a little more. That's literally it.
Do you find that important to pitch the drums to the key of the track?
I personally like doing that. I think it makes a difference, and it's pretty easy to do a lot of the time. I mean, what I like to do is you literally just solo the kick out, throw an EQ on it, just look for where's the P. And if you look, actually, I don't even think this is hitting the right note. It's like a D sharp and the tune's in D. So this one isn't even hitting the right note. What I like to do is if I want to find the exact pitch, I just throw a frequency shifter on here, and then you can just start like playing around with it. So like, oh, I want to go down -10. So, okay, now it's hitting a B, and you can just do that. It takes like a couple minutes at the beginning of the tune. If you just do it with a frequency shifter, then you don't have to go in and recorrect every single pitch sample.
And do you feel like with the drums being tuned to it, do you think it adds to the musicality of the track?
I don't know about the musicality, but I think it definitely helps the kick and the sub sit together a little better if it's just hitting there. Because, I mean, if, say, like you have a tune in D and your kick's in, I don't know, if it's hit like a C sharp or something and your sub's in D, you get a weird frequency clash there.
Yeah, that's a real, I didn't think about that. That's a good idea.
I don't know how much of a practical difference it makes, but I like to do it just to be safe more than anything else. It helps it sound a little thicker sometimes too, because I normally write in like kind of the D to F range. So a lot of kicks are kind of like, oh, it's an A flat or something. And I'm like, I mean, yeah, technically that's in key, but it's not really hitting as hard as I want it to.
So you put the kick to the root. Do you put the snare to the root as well?
Yeah, it'll either be the root or the fifth usually. I like to pick one of those. So this snare is a mess. There's way too much going on here. Honestly, I think I just ended up adding stuff over and over until I eventually got how it sounded. So let's find what the bass is here. That's the bass. Cool. So let's see where that's hitting. Yeah, we got the hand right on the root set of D. And then on top of that, we have this little metallic snare as well. It's literally just the sample. I didn't even pitch this at all. I doubt that's in key. And then you have this clap. It's a little bit off kilter, which just I think adds a little bit of a human element to it. Then this layer, which I used in the build, I just add that because it has a really nice punch to it. It really adds that first hit, and then this little bit of splash at the end. Because that was a comment I got when I was getting feedback towards the end, was the snares having a splash. So literally just add this snare in here, pitched it up, then cut out the low end entirely, give it a little bit of width, and it adds that splash that the snare needed.
Amazing. So, and each one of these are tuned to the specific part of the key, right?
Yes, I believe so. They mostly should be. I might have gotten a little lazy on some of them, but I mean, for the most part, I just like to tune in until I think everything sounds right. Because, after you're sitting here working on a tune for how many, 20, 30, 40, getting to like the hundreds of hours, depending on how long you're working on something, eventually you might notice, oh, that snare sounds a little off. And it's like, okay, well, that's hitting a G. That's not the fifth. That's like the fourth, but it's still in key. So it sounds right in the context of everything. But together, that's all.
That's a thick snare. Okay.
Yeah. For this tune, just for the effect I was going for, we layered it with the kick. So. Nothing super crazy going on in the drum groove here. It's literally just quarter note stuff going on, and then a little bit of a reverse here leading into the snare. And then at the last one, I actually changed this metallic one to sound a little bit different. So it's kind of like weird, splashy. I just stretched it out like crazy. I don't know. It's just I think I end up getting bored myself working on stuff sometimes and add these little things that I don't really know how much of a difference it makes, but I like it. So
I like you doing that kind of stuff. It's ear candy, number one, but also like I really like the way that you've layered these on, and I love it when people layer that because it makes the snare feel so much thicker. Can't tell you how many songs I listen to. The kick is so thick, and then the snare is just
yeah. And I think in a song like this, it's like kind of important that you have that snare hitting as hard as the kick. Yeah, which again is why literally the kick is hitting again. So yeah, I guess we can get into the drop then. Yeah, so we got
Okay, so before you even get into anything, here's a question for you. What is your method of starting a drop?
I like having, I usually start with, okay, what's the initial impact going to be? So in this case, super simple. It's literally just this distorted saw bass. And honestly, I think it might be the same exact one from the build, actually, just processed a little bit differently. So you have that initial impact. Okay, what's that going to be? And then I like thinking about the groove of what I wanted it to be. So I had like this main bass. I made a bunch of bass sounds beforehand and then put them all in here, throwing stuff at the wall most of the time. So just like throwing things down. So I'm like, okay, that grooves right. And then that sounds like something that you can actually move to. So you can call that like the A section, let's say. And then this B section here is... So the rhythm changes and the little bit of melodic bit at the end also changes. I guess it's a lot of call and response for the most part. So you have in this first call here, technically you have a call and response with the first impact and then that bass sound that's coming in. And even within that, you build into another layer. You have these two little bits of bass sounds that are playing off of one another. One of them gets spaced out, one of them's brought back in. So I guess it's a lot of back and forth, at least in this drop.
So kind of one thing that I heard really quick is like the very first thing that you kind of start off with is the downbeat, the impact, the initial thing that really catches people's attention inside the drop, right? Which in this case was a distorted saw. But another thing that I heard you say is that you actually sound design things before you even go in to start arranging the drop. Is that correct?
Yeah, with this song, that was how it worked out. Because I kind of had this build and everything, and I was like, okay, well, I don't really know what I want the drop to be, but I knew I wanted to be sort of in the deeper end of things. So I was like, okay, well, let's just make a bunch of sounds. And actually, I brought it in here. This is the original. It's really basic. It's just a FM from B, and this is going to sound a little different because I just melded it after I went. That's what it sounded like. And basically what I ended up doing was I just kept tweaking it and recording different bits of it over and over again. So eventually I had this big library of things to pick from that were all kind of in the same realm. So, I mean, if you even click through this section right here, So literally just pulling those around and recording all those, you can get these different effects that you wouldn't get out of just having a straight serum patch and then like making a bunch of variations of it.
You know, I think that's a really like good idea to separate yourself from the arrangement and writing process and the sound design process. Because I mean, these are two different sides of the brain, right? These are two different sides of the brain. Creation and the arrangement is two different sides. And so I love the idea that you're separating those. You're playing to the advantage of humans when you get human psychology when you're getting into this kind of stuff. I actually really love it. One thing I do want to comment on was that I love that you said that you went through and you changed one patch lot and you got all these different samples. Then when you start using these different samples, they all sound like they're from the same family. There's so many times when I'm listening to a song and it's just like there's no what's called bass cohesion, right? There's no sound cohesion. It's the equivalent of you going to like McDonald's and Burger King and Panda Express and then throw them all into a bowl, and it's like, yeah, I mean theoretically it's food, but then if you get everything just from McDonald's and threw it in a bowl, it'd still be gross and it'd be terrible for your health. But it's better because it's all from the same source, right? And so I think that's a really, really good idea. And so when you do that, do you render those out as samples or as presets, or how's that work for you?
Yeah, so for this one, I just made a bunch of audio recordings, and this is actually a new version of the project because when I was originally working on it, it was just me. So this is a different version of it. But if you go back to the oldest version of the project, there's these long 32 bars of audio where I just recorded a bunch of samples and I went in and I consolidated the whole thing. And then they're all just sitting there ready to be used whatever I wanted. So it actually be in here, like Quake. That's an old one. So yeah, you go in here. And you have like all these different variations of it, and some of them made it and some of them didn't, but I had plenty to choose from. And you can even process them again once they get in here with this chain that I had. Then you start texture warping stuff and start doing all this stuff. I personally just like playing with audio a lot, so I was having a lot of fun with that in this project. And,
the more I talk to people who actually know what's going on with sound design, they incorporate exactly what you're talking about here. They incorporate like how they create like a sample pack of everything that they're doing. They have their own sound design session. They go through and they kind of create all this, and then they have it in audio so they can tweak it even further. So the term comes from 85, that at least for the term that I know. It's called bass jam, which is basically this thing. It's like you have this big, long, huge audio thing where you've just recorded and tweaked and all that kind of stuff. This big large thing.
And I'm pretty sure I got that from like one of these videos like this where I was watching someone else do the same thing, and I was like, that's a good idea. I should do something like that. And I tell you, it works out really well.
Yeah,
so
yeah, it's a really good, I'm glad, man. That's awesome. You learned it from this channel? You learned it from someone else?
Oh yeah, I might have been this channel. I think it could have also been another one with like Company or someone like that, where he was like, oh, I'm just like recording all these sounds and then putting them back in. But it's definitely a technique that a lot of people are using, and it's a good one to try and utilize. I mean, it can end up giving you some really good results for sure.
I'll just pretend like it was us. So thank you. I accept this award gracefully. So okay.
I'll tell you, I definitely have got quite a few techniques from this channel before. So no worries on
awesome,
that.
Dude. I appreciate that. Okay, so you got this, and so basically after you go through, you kind of did your little sound design session. You're starting to bring things in. You're starting to do what's called call and response. You mentioned this a little bit earlier. For those who have no idea what that even freaking means, what even the concept is, what is call and response?
So call and response is like a question and answer, I guess. Someone asks you a question, then that person gives you an answer to that question. So I guess in that case, the question would be this. And then the answer would be these different. And then, I mean, even within that, you could say that, this is a question and this is the answer. Like, it's these different little bit of variations that you keep bringing in back and forth. I don't really know how to describe it. I think it's something I've just naturally done. When like listening to a lot of music, you end up hearing it. Because I mean, if I just put this in, for example, and I was just like, all right, here's our drop now. This is our new drop that we're going to do. And it would just be like there's nothing happening there. It's too much, or there's just like not enough sound variation going on there. So I don't know. I personally like making these I end up working in sections and chunks a lot of the time. So you have like this chunk, and then, okay, I'm going to copy and paste that over. And what's this new section going to be? And then if you listen to this, I believe this is exactly the same as this. I just delayed it a little longer. And then for the last bit, it's, again, a little bit more delayed, and then it's a totally different rhythm. But at the end, you'll hear this part's going to come back.
So for those who are listening, and so they're starting to get it, right? They're starting to get it. Call and response means that there's at least bare minimum two different sounds, and one comes first, the second one responds to that, so on and so forth. You can start creating a rhythm out of that. If anyone wants to see like a really, really kind of rudimentary, basic way of doing this, like kind of the most basic example I can think of, there's a song by Julian Sheeran and John D called Little Talks. It's called Little Talks. Okay. So the reason why is like it's very, very basic, right? Where Julian Shearer, she sings the first part, she does the call, and then John D sings the second part.
Yeah, and that's a much better way of thinking. That's better than My Isolation was. Like kind of a duet, I guess.
It's kind of a duet in a way, right? Something says something does something, and then the second part responds to that. And this creates, it's really cool because what this is rooted in, this is cool. Not very many people know this, but this is rooted in storytelling. So this is actually taking elements from storytelling and bringing them into music and helping kind of create the story inside of music so it seems more engaging. It's really cool. I love it. It's so good. I love it.
Yeah, and I mean, you can pull the same kind of things from like the foreshadowing of elements in the intro for things that are going to happen later. And I mean, you can definitely pull in elements from other bits of art into making music.
I love it.
It's all coming from the same
freaking
ideas.
This is so good. Okay, yeah, let's keep going. So we kind of
Cool.
The basses are all kind of deriving from each other. They're all kind of from the same grandfather, so to say. They're playing these rhythms, and these rhythms, when you're coming up with these rhythms, you're kind of just throwing stuff at the wall and you're seeing what works, right? You're trying to
I mean, you can even see there's a bunch of ones that are turned off here. So these are probably prior ideas that I had going in. Okay, maybe the first time I did this phrase was a little bit longer. So I was like, so you like just kind of throw things at the wall here until eventually like, oh, okay, this is the flow that makes the most sense. And I don't know, for me, it ends up being, okay, I don't know, there's no exact point to say when to stop, but once it feels like that's locked in, it feels like, okay, I can move to that. And it doesn't feel too chaotic because I think it's easy to get a little chaotic with sound design. I mean, like for me, I like having these more simple rhythms with the complicated sounds. I don't really think that answered the question at all, but.
No, it did. You actually, you showed like kind of this examples, like you're bringing stuff in, you're chopping stuff out, you're trying different examples, you're switching things around. I think that's really cool. The second part to the question that I have is that I liked what you were talking about, where like you create like this first section, kind of like section A, and then do you duplicate that over and start changing things, and that's where section B comes from? Is that how that happens?
Yeah. It's normally, okay, so I'm going to start with this 4 bars, and we're going to copy and paste that and make some variations, and then kind of just end up doing that over and over again until you have this chunk of different things. And then you can see like, okay, this is drop 1, this is drop 1B. I probably literally just copied this whole thing over and then made more variations onto it.
Too many people when they're first starting out, and even seasoned people that don't really understand this, they don't copy and paste over and tweak. That's where the magic happens, though. That's where
it's because you already have the structure there. So all you're doing is bringing the structure over. Like you're not going to, I mean, you could keep it exactly the same too, but you probably aren't going to want to. But you don't have to literally start from scratch every time you move to a next section. I mean, you're going to break. You're probably going to copy the intro first, and then, okay, how are we going to make this different? You know,
between drop A and drop B, or drop 1.5 here, what were the main differences, the main things that you kind of changed or brought in and took away, and so on and so forth?
Yeah, the first thing that happens is instead of getting this like little saw bass here, you get this Euro bass, which is again from another previous sound design session, just warped in, pulled it out, put it in tune. And so first impact you get this time is you're going to get a, so you can even hear it right there. Once you get into this rhythm, it changes a little bit. So it was just quarter notes before, and now you have this little 8th note bit, and that feels totally different. Again, from an older sound design session. It's actually literally from like another song I did, and I had the whole drop like rendered out as like stems. And so I literally just brought this one bit in and then pitched it around and shifted it, and now it's utilized again in this song.
And you also have a little hay going on now, right? I hear.
Yes, a little bit of hay that's going on. I actually pulled that from the drop that Dirty Audio did. So I like those, and I was like, okay, well, cool. It's again making the sections make sense again. I just pulled it back over. So yeah, you got that. It's basically, so I would say for the most part, it's just that the rhythms are changing, and then you get a little bit of different textures and timbres going on with some of the impacts and fills. Also added this a little bit that's like, it's an octave up. Just fill out the spectrum a little more, and just makes like the tiniest little difference.
Anything else in drop 1.5 that's worth mentioning?
Yes, actually, now that I think about it, I would say the one thing that comes up quite a bit, and I have to find where it is because there's a lot going on here. I'm automating the reverb quite a bit throughout the course of this to keep the groove going. And it's a total mess because I ended up copying and pasting stuff a lot, you know, what I was saying, and then chopping these up. Some of these don't make any sense, but what I was doing was on the offbeats, I was using these little tiny chunks of it that are like kind of 8th notes, but I still want to fill out. I don't want to just stop at the 8th note. So what I did was at the end, it just raises the reverb a little bit. Kind of gives this bounce to it.
That's so cool. So what you're saying, so from what I understand, is that basically, so you do this to add kind of like, I don't know, an extra counter rhythm, I guess you'd say, in a way.
Yeah, I would, in a way, yeah. It just emphasizes those 2s and 4s a little bit because, you know, you have the kick and snare hitting on 1 and 3, so that's your nice like punch. It kind of sucks everything in. So like right before that hits you, everything exploding a little bit, and then boom, like right back in. I think it gave the track like a nice bit of play. It helps it play with the drums a little bit.
Awesome. Kind of gives it a little reverb shift, kind of like reverses into itself. It almost sounds like it reverses into itself a little bit. I love it.
Yeah, because I mean, you turn it off, these sections are still filled out a little bit, but it's going to sound a lot more empty. So. You can hear where it cuts off and it doesn't really sound like it's moving into that next section, right? That's mostly what's happening in this first drop. I mean, there's a little bit of fills and stuff here, nothing too notable going on with that. And then we have this next build going on, which is, again, I'm pretty sure just copy and paste it here. And what happens is it just teases his drop a little bit. What's actually funny, and now that I'm hearing it, I'm realizing this bit right here. That's actually like an older sound design from like an older drop that was in the song that got cut. And it's just still there. It's still living in that build. I just think that's really funny. I just now realized that because I don't even think that he's actually teasing his drop a whole lot. Oh, there it is. Where's that coming from? I can't find it. Oh, there it is. I literally couldn't find it, but yeah, that's his bit right here. So he's just teasing that as it builds in, and then we get to his drop. And I can go into it a little bit, but I don't know exactly how he did all the stuff that he did here. Okay, but I can go at my parts here. So it's a little bit of call and response, again, back to what I was saying. So you kind of have 4 bars of his stuff, 4 bars of my stuff, 4 bars of his stuff, 4 bars of my stuff going on here.
Let's talk about that. So let's play his part, and let's play your part.
Yeah, so this is his section of it first. So good. So that's his bit, and then we go into mine here, which is... And he arranged that all, but I think it's really cool how that worked out because it's like, okay, so you get a little bit of back and forth going on here with just the sounds that we decided to use.
You know, that's a really cool collaboration tip is like when you're building a drop with each other, you basically have sections of the drop calling and responding with the 2 collaborators. I think that's actually really, really cool.
Yeah. So that's pretty much how that drop's going. I mean, and again, these are just, I think I actually ended up having to go back in, re-sound design these longer bits. But I don't think there's a whole lot to break down in this section besides that. It's just a lot of call and response. And then we get to this break. Yeah, so the break, it's a lot of the stuff from the intro elements. I just changed the progression of it for the most part. So you can hear that just like initially when we get into this section, I believe the first 4 chords here that you get are different. And then it goes back to these ones that are exactly the same. So it just gives you that little bit of difference going on, and everything it starts off a little bit lower and the elements take a little bit longer to get back in. It's a lot of just a technique for DJs that are mixing more than anything else. So that when they switch that song, it's not like, oh, we're in the verse and I wanted to go to this new song, but this one's still just like blasting everyone's ears off in the break.
Sure. Is the verse, the big string, and the build, is that basically the same stuff that we had going on at the beginning?
Yeah. It's pretty much exactly the same from what I'm seeing here.
Perfect. And then drop 3. So yeah, how's the arrangement with drop 3 differ from what you guys had going on before?
Yeah, so drop 3, we ended up going through a lot of different things for drop 3. Like I think I probably made like 3 or 4 different versions of it, but what we eventually settled on was having a 4 on the floor drop, because just like really like, okay, this is a really energetic song. Let's just like end it off with like full energy going on. The build, it teases it a little bit, so it's a little different.
Make the ground shake like a fucking earthquake.
what was fun about this for me was when we were doing this drop, what I basically got to do was take all his drop elements that he used previously and rearrange them into this drop. So I took all his stuff and just like messed with those elements to make this third drop here. That was a lot of fun because it's kind of like you're remixing your own song at that point, you know?
That's so cool, man. That's so cool. And then is there any other elements? I mean, it sounds like you rearranged them, but did you add or any elements in here? Or is it pretty much all the same elements?
I would say it's pretty much the same. I believe this kick, yeah. So he arranged the kick so it cuts off a little bit differently here. And then I added yeah. So you have this little bit of like dembow going on here. Just kind of keeps the energy up. I find that when you're doing a 4-on-the-4 drop, there needs to be like a little something filling out the sides and the rhythm, so it's not constant kick drum. I really like having that rhythm on here. So you got the snares emphasized by this little fill that I used in a couple other spots. It's just these two things layered on one another. Just weird plates crashing onto the ground, basically. Like I don't even know what you could call that really, but yeah, it's just like a nice little effect sound. It fills it out. Let me just double check here that nothing's happening as far as this part's concerned. Yeah, I mean that's pretty much it as far as this drop's concerned. It just goes 4-on-the-4 and then we cut it back down into this halftime. So I was just going in here and just kind of pitch automating his sound, messing with the auto pan and everything to make sure that it's getting the rhythms that it should be getting. And then at the very end, just pulled in this little bit that I had at the end of the second drop. And there's outro.
That's amazing. And then it's just the outro, which is basically more or less just the intro, right?
It's more of the intro. I kind of like to make it a little more like, I mean, the way that we've been talking, everything's sort of like we start off with the verse section, it starts low and then builds up. The outros I kind of like to have it, okay, so it builds up and then we're going back down to nothing at the end. You can hear it a little bit with the brass here too. Instead of having it an initial hit, it's just swells up a little first. Yeah, besides that, it's just a lot of the same elements, just rearranged a little bit.
Amazing, dude. Absolutely amazing. So now here's the question. Here's the question, Slippy. What is a concept inside of music production that you feel like you don't really know, but you really, really want to know? What is a concept like that?
A lot of the stuff that I find really interesting is ordered chaos, if that makes sense. So you have a lot of guys like, say like G Jones, I think is a really good example. He has a lot of sounds that are super crazy and chaotic, but at the end of the day, somehow makes them make sense within these really dense soundscapes. A lot of people like that just fill out these really chaotic sounds and they have all this stuff going on, but it's like, how do you make that all work together? And where are you getting all these various sounds from?
I see. Yeah. Someone that's like that really knows how to order chaos is Frequent. A lot of things that he does. You ever listen to Frequent? Oh my gosh. Like his alpha state stuff. When I was listening to that, I'm just like, oh my, like I was like spread over 7 different project files, like 700 different tracks. It's like insane. So it's like, yeah, how do you do that? That's a really good question. How do you get something so complex, so chaotic, but get it to work? That's a good question.
Because you can even hear it a little bit in some of this because I like doing that kind of like cinematic orchestral type stuff for my intros. And you have a lot of arpeggios going on here and they somehow work together. But I think it's interesting to just keep trying to take that to the next level, have it make sense, but still sound cool.
DAW Nation, now this is a really good question. If you have an answer to this, if you know how to tell Slippy here how to do that, you got some good tips, tricks, resources, anything like that, put it down in the comments. We'd love to hear from you and see what you guys actually have. We'd love to get some advice on this. This is a really good question. So of course we got the final question, which is, did you have a good time?
Oh yeah, of course.
Talking about, do you recommend, can you morally recommend In the DAW to producers?
Oh yeah, 100%.
You're a good person.
What's up, DAW Nation? Did you enjoy that? Did you learn a lot? Now listen, don't head out yet because we still have some things of value for you. Now, before I give you those things of value, really quick, I just want to remind you to go ahead and hit that like button. You see that thumb button right down there? Go ahead and click that softly, not too hard, but hard enough. And then go ahead and go into the comment section, leave a comment. If you like this episode, go ahead and let us know. If you didn't like this episode, go ahead and let us know because we really just want to keep making these episodes better and better and better for you. And then of course, make sure to subscribe and take the little notification bell so that you get notified every single time when we release an episode like this. Now, DAW Nation, we got 4 extra things of value for you, okay? You not only got this week's episode, but now you're gonna get these 4 extra things of value. The first thing that we have for you is called Behind the DAW. It is another series that we have, but really quick, what the freak is the difference between in the DAW and behind the DAW. What's the difference here? So really good question. So in the DAW is where you're at right now. In the DAW is where we talk about the technical things, music production, sound design, mixing, mastering, vocal production, things of that nature is over on in the DAW. Behind the DAW is more so focused around the emotional, philosophical, branding, marketing, music business side, okay? And we go ahead and we interview huge, either music producers or people in the music industry. It's just another asset for you, okay? So we've had people like Henry Fong, Kara, Flux Pavilion. We've had the CEO of Trap Nation. Okay, we've had a lot of people, and you can go ahead and check out Behind the DAW as well. It's the perfect companion to In the DAW. The second thing I want to talk to you about is our Mastermind Monday episodes. Now, I really just need to quickly warn you that the Mastermind Monday episodes are not for everyone. These episodes are only for the go-getters, the true producers, the people that are really willing to push the limits, that are going to put in the hours, go the extra mile, go above and beyond the Call of Duty, all right? It's only for the super serious producers. But every single Monday, we release the Mastermind Monday episode. And what that is that over the course of a week, I go and I find a piece of content that I feel like is really going to help music producers, okay? And sometimes that's a book, sometimes it's a video, sometimes it's an idea, a philosophy, something of that nature, but I go and do the searching for you. I go and find it, I bring it to you, I present it to you, and then I show you how to apply it in your life. Okay, so number one, you don't have to go find the content. Number two, you don't have to partake of the content. And number three, you don't even have to figure out how it applies to you. I literally do all those things. I put it on a silver platter. I give it to you, okay? Now, really quick, again, this is not for everyone. This is only for the super devout music producers that are really willing to take your music career seriously. If you're just a hobbyist, this is not for you. This is only for people that want to make a career out of music production, okay? And then naturally, the third thing that I want to talk about is a combination of the first two, which is all of this content that we have in the DAW, behind the DAW, Mastermind Mondays. All of these things can be partaken of in two different ways, okay? The first way is where you're at right now. All of these episodes can be found on the DAW Nation YouTube channel, okay? So if you're more of a watcher than a listener, guess what? You're in the right place. Now, if you're more of a listener than a watcher, guess what? Every single thing that we've been talking about today in the DAW, behind the DAW, Mastermind Monday, all of those things can be found over on the DAW Nation podcast. That's right, you can listen to all of these episodes on the go, okay? So maybe you're driving, maybe you're at work, maybe you're working out, anything like that. Maybe you're doing the dishes. I do lots of dishes. It's horrific. But if you're doing any of those things, guess what? You can listen to all of these episodes on the go as well. Now you can find that podcast, it's just called the DAW Nation podcast, over on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Deezer, of course on YouTube, SoundCloud, anywhere, literally anywhere that you can partake of a podcast on any app, it's gonna be on there. So make sure to head on over there and subscribe over there as well. Now, the fourth and last thing that I wanna talk about is our courses, okay? So you've partaken of our free content here. Don't get me wrong, this free content, as you just witnessed, is really, really good and really informative. But if you wanna take your music production skills to an entirely different realm, not even a different level, just like an entirely different realm, I would highly encourage you to head on over to dawnation.net and check out our courses over there. Number one is the School of Bass. Now, this was in collaboration with 85. If you don't know him, he's an absolute sound design legend, and we came together and made this really, really intense sound design course, okay? The second one that we have is one that we're just barely launching. It was in collaboration with Zan Griffin. If you don't know who Zan Griffin is, he literally released an album on Seeking Blue while he was a senior in high school, and that album has went over to get over 100 million streams worldwide. That's insane. And guess what? He shows you how to do it all. He breaks down every single song in the album. He gives you stems, project files, presets, samples. I mean, it's just insane. You get to see every single song broken down, even to the most micro piece of content inside of there. It's absolutely amazing. Now, if you want to partake of any of these courses, any of them at all, again, go ahead and go over to dawnation.net. They're all over there. It's very easy to get more information on them. So I'd highly encourage you to go over there as well. But DAW Nation, I really hope you enjoyed this week's episode of In the DAW. And if you did, I would love to know. Go ahead and hit the like button, comment below, subscribe, and take the little notification bell. And by the way, you can take a screenshot and tag me on an Instagram story, and I will reply to it. I repost everything that people tag me in on Instagram. So if you want to connect with me that way, I'd love to. I'd love to get in contact with you guys. My username is @DAW_nation. And so I'd love to hear from you guys over there as well. So right about now, there's gonna be some pop-ups coming up on the screen. Over in this area, in the top left corner, there's gonna be a little subscribe button so you can subscribe to the channel. Over in the top right area, you're gonna be able to see our newest piece of content, which the one that you're watching right now very well could be, or there could be even more at this point. So go ahead and check out our newest piece of content right over there. Down over here in the bottom left corner, you can see a playlist for every In the DAW episode. Okay, so if you want to watch all the In the DAW episodes, right down over there. And then over here in the bottom right corner is going to be a Behind the DAW playlist. So if you want to watch all of our Behind the DAW episodes, that's going to live down over here. But DAW Nation, it was absolutely fantastic spending this time with you, and I'd highly encourage you to come back next week when we release our next episode of Behind the DAW with Mern.